I heard a true story this week that I want to share with you. I have to admit, it really struck a chord with me. Shalom, my friends. Yes, this is the true story of an Orthodox Jewish man who had been volunteering his time since the October 7th massacre, helping to determine whether small fragments that were found were actually human remains. There were many people like him doing the same awful work, but he was tireless. He did not take any of the days off that he was actually required to take for his own health, and it became clear he was burning out. He had even stopped attending daily religious services. He was ordered to go home for a solid week to rest, but he returned ready to work after only a few days. And when he did, a friend of his who was doing the same work and attended the same synagogue as this man asked him why, even during his time off, did he stop attending daily services. I found his response chilling. He said, "Right now, God and I are not on speaking terms." It reminded me of several conversations I have had over the years with members of my congregation who were struggling with a specific kind of guilt. They felt real anger towards God, and that's why they felt guilty. I'm genuinely curious if anyone watching this video has ever felt angry with God, and if so, did you feel guilty about it? If you have anything you're willing to share regarding this, please do leave a comment in the comments box below the video. I would also be curious to know what you think of my response to those people. I told them that being angry with God is a deeply religious thing to do. As I pointed out to them, no one gets angry at the tooth fairy or the Easter bunny. In other words, we do not get angry at things we do not believe exists. To be angry at God is to acknowledge that you believe God is real and that you had certain expectations of God, but felt God had let you down. I do have to say, however, that while anger at God comes from a religious place in us, that is not the same thing as saying God deserves our anger to be directed at him. I'm speaking in general terms now, and there are usually exceptions to generalities. So maybe you have experienced a situation in which directing anger at God was appropriate. But I want to make two more points in this video. And the first is that anger at God is frequently misplaced. Let's take the example of the gentleman I spoke about earlier. Obviously, he was angry at God for permitting the October 7th massacre to happen. But I believe with every fiber of my being that this massacre was not the will of God, but rather it was evil perpetrated by one group of people against another. God was only complicit to the extent that God did give us all the gift of free will. And if history shows us anything, it certainly shows us that human beings have a seemingly unlimited capacity to abuse that gift through being cruel to others. I certainly believe this man is entitled to respond to the horrors he was seeing firsthand in any way that he wanted, as long as it doesn't harm others. But for me, I blame Hamas 100% for the October 7th massacre, and I believe that as we wept for the victims, God wept with us, appalled at the way his children treat one another. The same thinking can be applied to questions like how can you believe in God after the Holocaust? I mean no disrespect to those who feel that way, but their question is not my question. My question is not how do you believe in God after the Holocaust, but how do you believe in humanity after the Holocaust? I simply refuse to cast the Nazis or Hamas in the role of being God's agents on earth, carrying out his will by brutally torturing and murdering some of his children. I am far more willing to say that not everything that happens on earth is the will of God. Again, you may well disagree, and I do invite polite comments that express where your beliefs differ from mine. The second and final point I want to make is that while I believe that anger at God may be misplaced, I do not believe that God responds in kind when we are angry at him. I believe God, the creator of humanity, knows human nature at least as well as we do. And I certainly believe that God is big enough and strong enough to handle us being angry with him, even when it is not really fair. And so I do believe that only religious people get angry at God, whether you agree or disagree. If you found this question worthy of serious thought, please like this video with a YouTube thumbs up. It helps to get the video in front of more viewers. As we draw ever closer to 700 subscribers, you can also help by subscribing yourself if you have not already done so, and ring the notification bell to make sure you are notified whenever a new video is released. If you would like to subscribe, just click on my face right over here, or maybe watch our previous video by clicking on its icon right over there. As ever, until next time, Shabbat Shalom.